to Best of Twitter. We're covering July, the best tweets in July, and we'll focus on a single one. Under 5 minutes is our goal, Eamon?
That's right, yeah, and it's going to be tough because it's fertile ground this week.
Okay, and I'm joined with Eamon. I'm Ken Lee. The tweet that we chose is a Forbes story. Will marketing muck up social media? And muck up, when he says muck up, he's talking about, in his words, quote, strangling engagement and stuffing messages down its throat, end quote. And that's what marketers, he says, are doing to social media and really mucking it up. Yeah. So, two-part question. Eamon, your thoughts on the overall message of this article. Did it resonate with you? And also, as we were talking about this article earlier, some of your findings from your research on how life science companies choose to do social media, especially as it pertains to other different types of channels.
Sure. I mean, it is an interesting point because I feel there's going to be some give and take between social media, traditional social media, where there's no companies involved and it's just peer-to-peer conversations, and traditional marketing, where it's companies speaking to people. There's going to be some give and take between those two things. And what Shel Israel, who is the author of this article, is concerned about is that when marketing made its first forays into social media, it adopted that peer-to-peer conversational kind of tone where people talked in a candid sort of a way, they asked questions and so on and so forth of each other. And now what's happening is that it's moving closer towards the marketing department and that marketing sort of viewpoint where they're pushing messages out, they're being quite corporate in their language, they're staying on message, and the focus is going off listening so much as talking. One thing that he talks about here is that the organisational chart has changed, and to quote Shel specifically, he said that in most large organisations, social media started as a skunk work set aside from the traditional organisations so that they could innovate and even disrupt to help bring companies and customers closer together. And that's something we certainly found when we did an audit of a number of life science companies recently. We had a look at what was happening with their advertising, what was happening with their websites, their banner ads, all those sorts of traditional, conventional channels of marketing communications, having a look at the language they were using, the personality they were projecting. And then we had a look at their social media output, and it was like night and day. The social media output was soft sell, it was about relationships, it was sharing just information for the sake and joy of it, it was amusing, it was lighthearted, it was very conversational and personable. Mm-hmm. So it was quite a big departure from what we normally see in marketing, and I think Shel is concerned that we're going to actually flip and lose some of that out of the way that people use social media in a marketing sense.
Well, I have a couple issues with this article.
Sure.
Starting with the headline, and then we'll get back to your audit that you did, because I think that was very fascinating and what that might mean for life sciences companies. Will marketing muck up social media? I think this is a false premise. I understand where he's getting at when we talk about pushing the message. The social media is bigger than just any marketing channel. Social media could be me just going on YouTube, blogging blogging my own personal history. Mm-hmm. Social media is owned by all of us, and certainly marketing companies don't own those channels like they did when he did talk about the golden age of radio and TV. In fact, he said originally TV was meant to expose everyday people to opera, theater, and fine arts. A little bit elitist to me, in fact, and a better informed electorate. Sure, I agree with that. But if marketers muck up the messaging by pushing the message, into social media, we can just turn it off. In fact, some people just comment on that, since we have the power not only to produce, but to vote by unfollowing, by unliking, or not even caring, just not listening to those tweets or LinkedIn's. We don't need to do that. In fact, many don't.
That's right.
A company doesn't mean that you're now suddenly engaged with a Facebook.
That's right, and those companies will just find themselves occupying a lonely little part of the social media spectrum. I mean, it is kind of interesting. There will be a natural evolution here, and there will be a survival of the fittest. Those companies that adopt social media in the right ways will prosper. those other ones will become ignored. I mean, you know yourself, in your own social media and your personal life, people will filter their own friends. Too many baby photos on Facebook, too many inane comments about where they're going on the weekend. I want to hear less from this person. We do that with our own friends. We're sure as heck going to do it with companies if they start to.
We are absolutely going to scrutinize companies and filter that. And as you said, the best is going to come through. The muck that he talks about will be filtered out. The other thing, just briefly, is this opinion. For example, mentioning that it's being shifted. It, meaning social media, is being shifted to marketing departments. He makes a lot of broad claims. No examples, no statistics. I think this is a bias that, in general, when people hear the news, if an alien were to land on this planet and were to watch the evening news, they would just think we're killing each other all the time. We're cannibals, right? Because that's what makes the news.
Right.
And so I think he's naturally gravitating to bad examples that are out there, and there's going to be more bad examples, just more people are doing social media. At the same time that a lot of people are figuring out this social media, and there's a lot of good examples out here. So I get the opinion, I like the frame because he got us to talk about it.
Sure.
But you can't just say these things and not back it up with a single fact.
Absolutely. And as I say, when we did our audit recently, it was apparent that social media was being run differently. And it ought to, because there's also an expectation out in the public arena that companies will speak differently when they use a social media voice. Just as Google has found that when people use mobile devices, they expect a mobile version of the website to be more conversational and chatty. So we're evolving to that way. I think, yes, perhaps some companies are going to make mistakes, and hopefully other companies will learn from those mistakes. But I think that a majority of them, or I would at least hope, are approaching this with wisdom and an open mind.
Well, I think he does make a good point that he has two legs to stand on, and that's what marketing has always been, and that's about relationships. And if you look at your audit, but looking at your audit, and you talk about advertising, you talk about, the advertisements lack a focus on the customer, that tone lacks specificity and the customer needs, and that always needs to come through. And so when we talk about message, a message implies almost to me that it's coming from the company. Our product is faster, we can be trustworthy, but it doesn't talk about it in terms of what's gained from the customer's point of view. So I'm going to propose something instead of a message map and fitting the message to the medium. My proposal is to do an experience map and provide the right experience for the medium. So instead of just saying we are fast in an advertisement, what's the experience you want that customer to get out of that advertisement or that social media channel? What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that people are going to use social media for, apart from just having a conversation, being out there and being present and engaging in relationships with their customers, is to market content.
Yes.
In fact, that's really all it should be used for. Probably marketing products is going to start switching people off. But if you've got content that relates to a product and allows people to experience the key benefits that you say your product possesses, then by all means put it out there. And I think it's a great way to engage people who are actually genuinely interested in an interactive way and make that sell resonate harder with them.
Absolutely. Well, we're at our 6-minute time mark.
Damn,
yeah.
I had so much more to say.
I know. We have enough for 50 podcasts, but we want an audience, so we'll zip it now.
That's right.
Thank you for listening to us. This is the Best of App July Competitive. Please feel free to give us feedback. Tweet us at Competitive. Email us competitive@twitter.com, and we're going to sign off.
Thanks a lot for your listening in.
Bye-bye.
Bye.